We got Jonathan Stewart in the building, Oregon legend, Carolina Panthers legend. Man holds a lot of records everywhere. Jay Stu, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start at the beginning, right? So you are a kid you went to Timberline High School. So
Yep.
that's Olympia, Tacoma, Seattle area. Why did you leave Washington to go to Oregon? Because I know Washington fans could not be happy about that.
Cause I didn't like purple. Nah. Nah, man, there's a story behind it. You know, little kid from Lacey, Washington. Um, you know, found a gift in football. Um, I say a gift in football because my parents divorced, and football was an outlet for me to connect with other kids and other male role models that I needed in my life to really prepare me for being an adult, being a man um, in this world. And so, um, even though my parents didn't work out in their relationship, I was still guided. Um, with my mom being a single parent, um, but also guided through my relationship with God and just being able to be mindful of the people that were around me and being grateful for the people that were around me and clinging on to that. Um, you know, I really look at the grace of God in my life and just really, it's a testament to, you know, life is hard enough. And if you're not going to do it with people and realize that God sends people, um, to help you pursue life and pursue the things necessary to carry out His mission.
Yep.
If you're not realizing those things in your life, you're missing out.
So,
But um, but I chose Oregon basically, through prayer and just seeking God and really I asked for a sign. And long story short, I saw a sign. And if you've been on Interstate 5 going down to Oregon, you'll realize that there is a cross on a hill as you get closer to Eugene on the left side. If you're coming down from Tacoma, you'll see on I-5 a cross on a hill. And I remember when I was a little kid going to Vegas for um, our football tournament with my dad. I had this memory that flashed years later as I'm leaving Oregon from a visit with my mom in the car. We're going back up to Washington on I-5. I had a flashback of, oh wow, that same cross lights up at night because me and my dad went to Las Vegas for my football tournament, and it was in the middle of the night because he wanted to get up in the morning early so that way we get there on time and whatnot. And I remembered seeing this cross that lit up at night. And um so yeah, man, that was the reason why I decided to go to Oregon. Is I asked God for a sign and I saw one.
okay, so you just talked about. I mean, that's a crazy story. Not crazy in a bad way, but just like how things manifest and how you are, decisions are made. So you said talked about when your dad was driving you to Vegas, but you just said that your parents got divorced. So how old were they when that happened?
So they got divorced when I was in fourth grade, and then my dad took me to this Las Vegas tournament when I was in sixth grade. So they were still, my dad still lived in Washington at the time, and then a couple of years later he moved back to Georgia,
Yeah.
where majority of my family is from. All my family's from Georgia, besides me.
So how did that divorce and that separation with your dad moving? How did that impact young Jonathan Stewart?
Oh man, it was tough, because as a kid, the second child, um, you're the baby of the family, um, and so I really relied on. stability, and um and the normalcy of that. And I mean, mind you, my family dynamic was jacked up.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, there's no way that this is going to happen. My parents never got along, and my dad wasn't the best, person. Um, and granted, years go by, and I'm, just recently found some reconciliation in that relationship. So I'm grateful for that. But you know, as a child, man, you don't really know how much it weighs on a child when there's no stability within the household.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized once they divorced that there was a healthiness that was created within our dynamic just because there was a lot of toxicity.
Yeah.
um and so given the situation as toxic as it was good that things ended for my mom and my dad, because that was you know one of the things that was able to you know project us into you know some better situations,
Yeah.
if I say so myself. Um but yeah, man, I'm kind of racking my brain right now. That's a lot of unpacking there.
Yeah, for sure. No, 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 for real. Cause I mean, and we see so many young men that have and young women that have been through some sort of separation from a parent, whether it's their dad, their mom, and they're going through life, and sometimes, and especially when they're high achievers, everybody's like, oh, they're fine, they're fine. But I know that there's a person I'm super close to in my family's dad's in the wind. It's just like I feel so bad for him because I remember he said to me how much he hates Father's Day and how it's a painful experience for him. And I just can't even imagine that. So because my dad was there every single day, like
Yeah.
and so like how has that shaped kind of you being a father of a couple of kids and being a husband the way that you grew up?
It's whenever you find yourself in generational curses, um, it's always a challenge that you're faced with every day,
Yeah.
to overcome those. And it shaped me, to really receive and respond, and lean in on the things that used to be for my family generations, and that the dynamics, um and the challenge is to not to be that,
Yeah.
not to be the father that um shows weakness in times of the need for strength, um and being able to have better communication skills and understanding that, um softness isn't weakness.
Yep.
Being soft is being vulnerable, and being vulnerable allows you to be a better human. Being a better human allows you to, be accepted in ways, from your peers and from your family, in ways that usually end up as a gift. I mean, the true gift is, to be that person
Yep.
for the people that you love. And so, I have two daughters now, and they are great communicators, just like my wife.
Man.
And you take those, you take a situation where you grew up in a household full of toxicity and, um, the communication barriers, and a single mom that's working several jobs that doesn't have time to explain why you can't do this and that, and can't explain why you know we're scrapping for crumbs by the end of the month. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you just go and do.
Yeah.
And as a boy, that's what we're basically, like, created to do, almost, right? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, just go out and provide, go
Yep.
hunt. And
Yeah.
so I can do that. So granted, my situation, my mom, me and my brother, two boys, those are the things that the society actually teaches and tells the boy to become. Just be a
Yep.
provider.
Well,
And so now having two girls and having a wife that, you know, is, articulate, or the most articulate person I've ever, met in my life. Um, and my girls will grow to be the same way. Like I'm being challenged to overcome,
mm,
my upbringing.
yep.
And in turn, I'm becoming a better man. I'm becoming a better human, um, through those challenges that I've accepted. I want to be the best communicator. I do want to articulate, not just articulate, but communicate. Communicating is like seeing where a person is and meeting them to deliver a message.
Yeah.
And so, in order for it to be delivered, it must be received. So,
Th- That was the hardest part, honestly, for me, and it didn't happen for me until after I finished playing in the league, because I was a kid who I moved around a lot, and this is before social media, so there wasn't really a way to. Nobody had cell phones, so you couldn't really keep up with those people. So I learned how to compartmentalize. Like it was me and my
yes,
and my family. So I would have very surface level relationships, like where we were cool, but if we didn't see each other, it just is what it is.
yeah,
And so it took me a very long time to even be able to communicate with my own kids in a way that was impactful, because I think that as men, we get taught, like you said, that we're supposed to provide, and what the idea of toughness and masculinity looks like. When I've learned that being a man is not like not showing emotion, but that it's being able to accept those emotions and then not let those things stop you, and also be able to show care and compassion and love and discipline in yourself to those people who you love and care about the most.
yeah. That's spot on, man. Compartmentalizing is one of the gifts and curses of a great athlete.
Yep.
Um, because if you can compartmentalize, you're gonna be okay. That means
Yep.
you know how to focus, you know how to turn the on and off switch on, and be a serial killer one moment, and then be, a child of God the next.
Yep.
but but
Ex-
but in the grand scheme of things in relationships, um, you can't flee from conflict, and you know and we like to I don't think men flee from conflict. I don't call myself a person that flees from conflict, but I'm more so like I like to scale, the value of the conflict.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, well,
Is this
if
worth it?
if if this is really that worth it, then sure. But if it's not, I don't want anything to do with it, because I'm
Nope.
probably gonna have to deal with something else later. And I need to have my plate not full. I need it to be, you know, like it's almost kind of like a Thanksgiving plate, right? Like I need to see how many things I can put on this plate. If you give me that big old chicken breast, that means I ain't gonna have enough room for a chicken thigh, a chicken drumstick, like
Yeah,
like my mashed
exactly.
potatoes, my
All your
gravy.
sides and everything
Like
else.
that chicken breast is too big, and it ain't even really that good. Like it's gonna be dry. Like
Oh, that's
so.
see that's because you have not had the George Wrighster 3-day brine smoked turkey. That's
Now
why, brother.
see, if we can have some brine chicken breast, we can get active. I ain't really big on turkey, but
See,
I can
dude,
get.
I brine my turkey breast for well my turkey for 3 days, bro.
Wow.
In my proprietary blend with cranberries, uh, all sorts of season. I put up a video about it that I did with the kids this year, bro. You put
Uh-huh.
that thing in there, smoke it, phenomenal,
Wow.
phenomenal.
Yeah, that sounds
So
good.
you go from your upbringing, and then you turn into this high achieving football player. uh, you are the number one running back on Rivals in 2005. I, take me through that. So you're going through that process, and at what point in time did you figure out? I'm cold. I'm raw at this football thing.
Um, I really. I think, how my personality is never too high, never too low.
Yeah.
Um, and over time, I've been able to articulate that. Because I've just always remained kind of steady.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure where that's come from. Maybe it's a little bit, it's obviously my upbringing in some fashion. And maybe it's, have realistic expectations. Um, let your expectations be of things that are in your control. And just everything else, just be level. And
Yeah.
so for me in high school, um, I just knew that I worked hard. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't necessarily give myself a title. I didn't necessarily give myself like this overarching, goal. My
Yeah.
goal was literally just work hard, just play hard. Um,
Man.
when given the opportunity, just be the best player that you can possibly be, and be the best player on the team, and be the best player on the field. And so I think once I, got a letter to go to the All American game, the U.S. Army All American game, that was one of the moments I was like, oh, okay. So I'm being compared to all these other guys in the nation.
Yeah.
Tony Baker at the time, Jason Gauntly, Rashard Mendenhall, Deshaun Jackson. That was my class. Ryan Perilou, went
Yep.
to LSU, and then, but so I think that was kind of my moment where I said, "Oh, I guess I'm pretty good."
Oh yeah. 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 A little bit.
Yeah.
And then you go to Oregon, and the transition to college is sometimes very difficult, right? So I remember I went in, I redshirted my freshman year. The only person in our class that played was Keenan Howery, and you come in and you're immediately a guy. Like what was your 4 years at Oregon? Well, 3 years at Oregon like, and and or was it like a blur?
It was a little bit of a blur because I mean Terrence Whitehead,
T
like
White.
to this day, Terrence Whitehead might be one of the most gifted, like gifted in the sense of naturally capable of finding ways to find the hole.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
don't know, he was
sneaky.
just
Yeah,
and just yeah, just sneaky. Like one of the best. He had the best feet. Like um, kind of reminded me a little bit of like how Marshawn would find holes. Right.
yep,
Marshawn's obviously on a whole different level of running backs, but like it was a gift for me to be able to play behind Terrence Whitehead, because I learned a lot. Learned patience as a runner. I learned the importance of saving your body, not taking so many hits. He always used to tell me, "Hey man, get down.
yes. Hey, you
Don't be
don't,
taking
you
all
don't,
them
you don't
hits."
get no trophies for this.
Yeah, and just kind of how calm and smooth he was. I remember him wearing that dark visor, and just
Yep,
there was a swag to him that that gave everybody else confidence, and you can tell he wore that, and he took that and he honored it. Um, and so yeah, shout out to Terrence Whitehead. But my my freshman year, I got hurt, and
yeah,
so um, for me, it was kind of like a down year. I didn't really know like how things were going to play out. Um, Jeremiah Johnson was also another talented running back, and we came in the same year.
yep.
So a lot of questions. Am I cut out for this? Am I just going to be a guy that just always gets his ankles rolled up and can't figure out how to run without getting injured? And so, um, it was so for my freshman year, it was bittersweet. in a lot of ways, but I think it taught me a lot. Um, and so did the second season. I had injuries, um, and that taught me a lot. And so my third year, um, Coach Kelly comes in and he says, "There's no reason why you shouldn't be a 1,500-yard back." I'm like, "Oh, okay,
You're
sweet,
like, oh, just
all
oh,
right.
nice.
If I'm rushing over 15, that'd be nice." And that was the year that I understood what it meant to take care of your body. I ended up actually messing up my toe towards the end of the year, and you know, I've learned how to play through injuries because I was injured previous years. Um, so part of being a pro, part of being a good football player, part of being a good athlete in general, you got to learn how to play hurt.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to do certain things the way you want to do them. It's going to be uncomfortable, but if you can figure out how to play hurt, you'll be noticed. You won't miss the opportunity. And so that became my bread and butter. Don't miss games. And obviously throughout my career, I've missed some games, but because of the mentality of, hey, just get to game day, do whatever it takes to get to game day, and you'll be okay. Because that thought process prepared me for the league. I went into the NFL with a toe surgery that I was recovering from.
Yeah.
And I did not practice, bro.
What?
Coach Skip, Coach Skip, like I practiced here and there, but it was all about getting me to Sunday. He was like, "Hey, baby, just as long as you show out on Sunday, leave that practice stuff to me." and so, um, and so that's legitimately kind of how it went down is like, but how do you stay fundamentally sound, right? You got to watch film. You got to pay attention in practice. When I'm going to practice, I'm taking mental reps. That whole phrase, mental reps, some guys take that and say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll watch practice. No, I'm taking mental reps, meaning I'm looking at it from one angle, and then the next, session of practice, I'm looking at it from another angle. Like, looking at it from a defense standpoint, why did he jump that hole? Like, there's a lot of things that you can actually take from watching practice if you have the
Yeah.
intent to actually take some reps into consideration. But I'm jumping over the place. You asked me
That's
how my first couple of
that's a
years were, but it was challenging. Um,
well.
it was
So
it
how
was
does
discouraging at first, but overall, it was a good experience.
so a lot of people would be they would probably be in shock when they would hear that. They're like, hold on. A guy as good as Jonathan Stewart dealt with doubt at some point in time in his life. And you're like, he's highly talented. So how did you deal with that doubt and what helped you overcome that?
Oh man, my faith. Um, God is God is not first in your life, man. Like you are bound to drizzle. And like, there'd be nights where, you know, you're laying in bed, hurt,
Yep.
foot throbbing, whatever's going on, and you think to yourself, like, man, I gotta get up tomorrow to go to practice, to go sit in meetings, knowing that I'm not playing, knowing that I'm not practicing.
Yeah.
No, and that feeling of letting your teammates down, right? That feeling of letting fans down, that feeling of, you know, people talking about, oh man, he's so gifted, but he can't show up or whatever.
Can't make the club
So
in the
you have all,
tub and yeah.
yeah, you can't make the club in the tub. Why are you always hurt? Oh man, just play through it, just practice through it. So there's a lot of things that your mind hears, and it's a lot of things that your mind tells itself. And so for me, my relationship with God, getting up in the morning, getting in the Word, like the first things that you should read every morning is God. You know what I'm saying? God's words. That Bible is not a secret weapon. You know what I'm saying? It's there for everybody to receive, and it legitimately helps because the first thing that I put in my brain in the morning is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It just means that
You can
I
do
need to
it.
prepare myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously something's always going to come. Satan's always going to be there trying to kill, steal, and destroy. Especially when you're on a path of actually making things happen. And so if you are capable of just being ready and being in position for when your time does come, you know, everything else settles. And I think that, my number one like enemy or threat or like, I don't know, people always ask the question of like, man, what's the number one thing you ever had to overcome in your life? And I'll say self-doubt.
Mm.
And self-doubt, if you can say if you're a person that can say I don't deal with self-doubt, you're lying
Yep.
because everybody deals with self-doubt.
Even
And if
Kobe
you
talks
don't, if
about that at times, like
yeah,
where he would, and yeah. So if when people say, "Oh, I'm just so confident," you can be confident, but there are some times when you all alone and you're saying, "I don't know about
yeah,
this." Then you got to
yeah,
get yourself back together. But you
and
are famous for also, in addition to being a football player, like a hell of a pianist. And we've seen videos of you playing the piano when you were at Oregon and all that. Where did that come, that love of music come from? And how has that impacted your life?
man, that came straight from my mom. My dad too. My dad sings and sing. He used to sing at church. My dad actually still sings at church, down in Georgia. Um, But my mom's love for music, man, growing up, where it used to be Saturday mornings, we listened to Jodeci, Patti LaBelle, um, you name it, Bobby Brown, um, Temptations, New Edition, like I can if you really we can sit here and go through it all. But back in the day when R&B was legit R&B,
Yep.
that's just kind of what was ingrained in me, bro. And so growing up, my mom for Christmas got me a keyboard for my fourth grade Christmas,
Yeah.
third grade Christmas, and lo and behold, I sat down and I just started playing it, bro. And my mom
Wait,
started
so are you
crying.
self taught?
Yeah, I just figured
What?
I just yeah. So my mom was like, "Wait a minute," and so there's you can press the buttons that have songs on there, and it was
Yeah.
number 31 slow rock. And I was playing the piano to this song, making my own song out of this song that was
Yeah.
part of the keyboard. And yeah, man. And ever since then, I just kind of always knew I could, you know, sit down and play by ear. And so when I got to college, that was definitely one of those outlets in Barnhart. They had a piano downstairs, and so kids would come in from being out at night, and I'd be sitting down there playing the piano, basically like a person that's in the
In the
lobby at
in
a hotel or something.
the or in the airport, just
Oh
sitting there
yeah.
just playing, like just trying to make
Hmm.
everybody else feel good.
Yeah. Speaking of like the Super Bowl, right? Usher, right? Usher was actually one of the very first like artists that I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna play all his songs. Like I'm gonna learn all of his songs. And I just remember in college, like I used to legitimately like play like nice and slow.
Yeah. Boom,
Um,
boom,
yeah,
boom.
like and everybody be singing in the lobby and stuff like that, man. It was fun. Good times. Good times.
Yeah, how big of a part of your life is music now?
It's a huge part, man. I it's crazy. The older we get, right, we turn into our parents. Like, what y'all listening to?
Yeah.
You
Y'all
turn
listen
that
to
crap off.
all that hippity hoppity. What?
What they talking about? Yippee yapping and yippee whoop 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 whoop. Um, and so, man, it's really crazy because like I've gravitated towards a lot of different types of music: country music,
Yep, me
rap,
too.
R and
Yep.
B, EDM, and right now, bro, like for the last 2 years, I've been on lo-fi music,
Oh, yo,
and
somebody put me on lo-fi a couple years ago, and I was like, yo,
yeah,
this is actually pretty. It's nice for when you just want to just chill.
chill.
Yeah,
Cause think about it, bro. The only times I'm really listening to music is if I'm by myself or I'm trying to chill. Cause if I'm in the car, I'm listening to things that my kids want to listen to.
yeah,
And so in the mornings after I read, might listen to a podcast. I'll turn some lo-fi music on. And so, but you know, like I have gotten into producing music, right? While I was
okay,
playing, um, I had a studio in my condo. At our last house, we had a studio. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do in this house as far as the studio goes so I can get back to producing because that's something that I really do enjoy and love
yeah,
is just creating music. I think, God blessed me with the ability to have a creative mind um, and just to, use that part of the brain. Uh, And while I played, man, it was like one of those things. It was an outlet. You're doing this one thing that's like barbaric all day, every day. And so it was very healthy for me to have, something that was the opposite to counter, the experiences that I was having every day. And
yeah.
so music is a huge part of my life. And, I owe that to my mom.
Yeah, that's dope. Now I want to fast forward to them Carolina Panthers years because you got a chance to play with some really good players. Christian McCaffrey toward the end of your career, but obviously the biggest name was Cam Newton. You played with Greg Olson, like some really good players. What was kind of that Cam Newton experience like his rookie year when you guys obviously had a really good year and he played well and it was like a phenomenon where you guys became like the most popular team in the league.
Man, it was a good time. Um, you know, the chemistry that we had, um, I think it was probably the best of any team that you could ever think of. Um, we weren't necessarily the most talented roster, um, but we had one goal, and we all knew the same goal. I would say the word was alignment, which is actually interesting because you know the Panthers hired a new coach in Dave Canales, and him and Dan Morgan at their press conference, they used the word alignment. And when you have a group of men, coaching staff, players, and men and women in the front office, when you have people understanding what the goal is and they can all jump on the same ship and go towards that goal, just imagine like how that should feel.
Yep.
It was fun. People, so much laughter in that locker room that year. Um, but it was just fun. It just came easy. It was a bunch of smart football players realizing that hey, we have something pretty special here.
Yeah.
I actually care about you.
And that's
That's
rare.
really what it is, and that's
Yeah.
like, and I'm talking about I can look at the whole roster and say, oh, I know that guy's family. I know this. I know his kids. I know where he's from. I know what joke to play on him. I know what
Yeah.
name to call him to make him mad. I know what he likes to eat. Like I know where his cleats are. I know, like what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I know what to do to piss him off in practice. Um, I know what to say to him during the game to get him like thinking about some things. And it was just one of those years where um, you just look back and you say, "Man, I'm so glad to be a part of that."
Yeah.
And when you have other guys from other teams come to our team, through free agency and giving you, the spiel of, man, y'all got something special here.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen anything like this. I remember Peanut Tillman coming to my locker room. He came to my locker um, one day, and he's like, "Man, Stu, like, has it always been this way?" Because I was here since 2008,
Yeah.
right? So, and I told him, I was like, "Yeah, like the culture here, like it's different,
Mm.
and it's a credit to guys like TD, Ryan Khalil, um, Greg Olson, myself, like, the Julius Peppers, like Steve Smith, like the guys in the nucleus is D'Angelo Williams, like this nucleus of what the Carolina Panther locker room is supposed to be about, which is whatever politics you have, whatever pride you got, whatever, self like motivating factors that you want to bring into this locker room. Now leave that at the front door. We're here to just play football and love on each other and be brothers. And that's really what it felt like. Like the
It had to
accountability.
be like it had to be wild in that locker room because I know Steve Smith and man, boy oh boy, especially him at that point in time, man, that man I would have nicknamed him Volcano because he was
Nah. No,
always
man,
ready.
listen, he's Steve Smith is one of the rawest, most authentic people on this planet. And and that's rare. They don't make people like Steve Smith anymore. And they probably, I guarantee you, there's not another person on this planet just like Steve Smith. He, man, like what he does for a team is he gives a team a baseline. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
hey, this is the BS meter, and it's all the way down there, down to the ground.
it's at the floor.
The BS meter is as high as a p as high as an ant. Okay,
Yeah,
so um, so you got guys like that on a team that's like, hey, look, nah, we ain't with that, but you can do all this other stuff though, right? Like
yeah,
we can joke, we can laugh, we can play, we can whatever, but we ain't with the BS. And that's how you really develop a manhood. Because all the BS is just a waste of time. If you're here to waste my time, then you can go do that somewhere else. You can go to the mall and waste your own time. And if I want to waste my time with you, then I'll come with you. But for right now, we're in this locker room, and I got business. I got business to see about. Um, but like Steve Smith, man, like remember on Saturdays we'll have like donuts. The rookie offensive lineman will go get donuts. And one of the things that I always was mindful of was to hold on tight to whatever I was eating.
I can see it knock it out your hand.
Yes.
you you don't want that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the last bite too, bro. And so you got that big brother that just like, I'm gonna get you. Um, but yeah, man, this is like the locker room. When people ask like, "Do you miss it?" It's like, nah, you don't really miss the games. You miss those interactions. You
Yep,
miss the locker room. You miss, you know, uh, text messaging and joking with guys, and we still have group chats and whatnot. But obviously, it's different while you're playing and have things that are fresh to talk about.
absolutely. What is this? The question that we ask everybody who has come on the show, which is, in your life, what has been your biggest leap of faith?
My biggest leap of faith. Man, I would say my biggest leap of faith was declaring for the draft. And, you know, and I say that because that's how I felt. Um, and it goes back to that self doubt. Um, Everybody else might believe in me or see me in a certain light. Um, but me having that injury, my last year, my toe injury, ended up playing in the bowl game. and I ended up having a good game on a messed up toe in the Sun
Wait,
Bowl.
hold on. So you went for 23 carries and 253 yards against UCF and was the Sun Bowl MVP on a bad toe?
Yeah, on a toe that I ended up having surgery on in March of the year that I got drafted, like going into the draft. And so, you know, I knew that I was gonna have to have some type of procedure
Yeah.
um, done while I was finishing my last game in my college career. And I remember talking to Coach Cam, talking to Coach Bellotti. Bellotti was like, "Hey, look, you're hurt. Like, I don't want your draft stock to go down." And I remember Coach Cam saying, "Like, nah, this is your time. You need to
Get up
go.
out of here, player. Get
Get
up
up
out of
out of here.
here.
You did what you're supposed to do. You rush for 2 C notes. And now you out of here." And so Coach Cam really gave me some confidence in who I was as a player, as a man. Um, I looked at him, you know, still to this day as one of those fathers that I feel like God placed in my life. Um,
Man.
for the obvious absence of my father during that time, and um, so I think the biggest leap of faith that I've actually taken was that, because it was the biggest decision of my life. And I was actually like weighing, do I stay or do I go? And, you know, there's nothing that God, um, if you ask God for something, there's nothing that He won't give you an answer for. Um, and it came in a lot of ways. And one of them was my coach. And then um, I actually went on a drive and I drove to go see that cross on that hill, and just kind of like seeing how I felt about seeing it again and whatnot. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, "Yep, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
So, looking back, it's like, that was probably an easy decision. It was probably an easy decision, Jonathan, because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
But
but it didn't feel like that in
being
the
being
moment. Yeah,
in
because
yeah, but when you're in the moment and there's a lot of uncertainty and you're really not sure how things are going to pan out,
yep,
you know, that's how it felt. And and obviously it was a big moment because it changed my life forever.
yep, and that was the way I felt when I declared. Like I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this." Ooh.
Yeah,
Um,
especially when you start hearing people like Mel Kiper talking about, I don't know, he's going to be a third round draft pick because he seems like a little bit of a drifter, and he's hurt, and he's got, he's
yep,
had, injury issues. He can't stay on the field and all the things and all the hype. And here I am today.
yep. Um, you and your wife, you guys bought a publication called Charlotte Lately.
Yep.
What has kind of been that experience like? Because it's about the city of Charlotte, all the stuff going on, the food, the culture, the everything else. Like you are clearly ingrained in this city.
Yeah, man. It's been cool because my wife, um, when I retired, she wanted to, figure out what she wanted to do, and I was one of the things was obviously, um, giving back and being a part of the community here in Charlotte. And so the Charlotte Lately publication, we acquired it, um, and basically, it's a social media influenced platform with magazine production.
Yeah,
Um, 2020, my wife, put out her first magazine, giving honor to the women of Charlotte in a way that covers people that wouldn't necessarily be covered. Trying to find the mom, the single mom that has, a daughter that, is suffering in, you know, the waves of, economic, you know, situations and whatnot, and not being able to provide. And So like really created a following of women that support women.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because in this world we call ourselves supporting each other, but what does that look like? You know, it, and especially with the small businesses here in Charlotte, I feel like gentrification happens everywhere, and if you're not really, you know, aware or concerned with small business owners, you're basically you're gonna have these cities that turn into something that it's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like mom and pop shops and small business owners are really what keeps this world ticking in a way that makes it special. And so Charlotte being one of the hubs of people moving in here at a rate of you know, I think it was like 200 people a day or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that can quickly be like wiped away. So with Charlotte lately, the mindset is to shed light on local business owners so that way people know who they are, where they are, and how they can be customers and how they
Yeah.
can, be a part of their service in the community. And so that has transformed into a TV show here locally, um, with the hopes of it being syndicated at some point. But basically, Bay Hackle Entertainment reached out to us, understanding what we're doing with the magazine and the the development of all that. And so we've been basically doing what we've been wanting to do on the digital scale,
Yeah.
of the magazine on the website or on the social media platform. But now we've been able to create content with an actual production company, shedding light on these people. So it's been nice.
Well, that's dope, man. And you guys, he's Jonathan Stewart. You guys can go check out Charlotte lately and make sure you guys watch the whole episode and everything else. Jay Stu, thanks for coming on, brother.
Man, appreciate you.